Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2017 State High Student Government Vice Presidential Debate. Your candidates are Oliver Rose and Mike Hopp. And your moderators today are me, Lars DiLorenzi, and Katie Heiss. Say hi, Katie.
Hi, everyone.
How about you two say hi, too?
Hi. Hello.
Okay, that's nice. I'd like to begin the debate with a quick review of the rules. Each candidate will start the debate with a 2-minute opening statement and end with a 2-minute closing statement. In the middle of the debate, questions will be posed to both candidates. Each candidate will get 1 minute to respond to each question. After the individual responses, candidates may debate the question freely if they wish. The moderator will cut off debate whenever he or she sees fit. Candidates may discuss whatever they please during opening and closing statements, but must stay on topic when answering questions. Candidates may criticize their opponents or their opponents' policies, but all criticism must be respectful, logical, and relevant. And in general, candidates should behave politely, respectfully, and professionally. So we were going to flip a coin to decide who goes first. Is that lying around somewhere? Okay. Well, I'll just randomly generate it on my computer then. Let's see.
I'll take heads.
Okay, heads. Flip one coin. What? Okay, so that's done. How about we're going to do 1 and 2 instead?
The coin is behind you.
Oh, there's a coin right there. That's nice. Okay. So,
Our collision. Okay.
Go here.
Heads.
There you go.
Mike will go first. Start over. Cool. Mike will go first, and you can start with your 2-minute opening statement now.
Hello, student body. My name is Michael Hopp. I'm running for the vice presidential candidate of the student government. I believe I have the experience necessary to run for this position, being the treasurer last year and being in leadership council before that. Other things, I just believe that I am more qualified than our candidate. Things I would like to focus on this year, funding for more clubs, as not nearly enough clubs have the proper funding. And also the World Language Program, getting to expand that. 2 very important policies to me, and 2 big reasons why I should be vice president. Thank you.
Okay. Oliver.
Okay, well, first let me start by thanking everyone who helped organize this debate. I'm sure I speak for both Mike and myself when I say we appreciate it a lot. So, I know for a fact that most people in this school don't believe the student government does anything significant. And my party is basically running because we want to change that. We believe that a better structure and new leadership in the student government can make it into potential that we know it has. If your student government has to tell you what they did or can't tell you what they did in the last year, then that's probably a bad sign. I think that student government should be making influential and obvious consequences for everyone in the student body. And another role of student government is outreach. And if we don't see student government getting out their message, showing the student body what they've done, and in general being productive, then that's also a bad sign. My party has devoted hours, and literally hours, to drafting an ambitious agenda, things we'd like to achieve and do if we were elected. And we know that some of these things, like having students help draft the budget and things like that, may seem a little far-fetched, probably because they are. But we also have a plan, and we hope that by the end of this campaign, you'll at least think it's worth a shot. I'll close with just reminding people that being as good as your predecessors shouldn't be good enough. What we need right now in student government more than anything is leadership and ambition so that student government can be something special rather than just normal, boring, and, let's face it, impotent.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll get started on specific questions. And we'll start with Oliver because you've got to go second, the opening statements. What experience do you have that makes you qualified to be vice president? And you have 1 minute.
I believe very strongly the experience it took me to get on the ballot my year in leadership council is more than enough to be vice president. Much more important than qualification is dedication and making sure that you are committing yourself to the student body. And I think we all know the reason that many people run for student government. I want to be clear, I'm not insinuating that's why Mike is running. I just think that as the most active member, or one of the most active members of Leadership Council, and my party's extensive agenda prove that we are not doing this just to get something on our college apps. We really care about student government, and we want to see it succeed. And I think showing that dedication, proving beyond a reasonable doubt that we are sincere, is the most important qualification you should consider.
Okay. Mike?
I believe my experience as a sophomore in Leadership Council, being one of the more active members that year, and of course being the treasurer this year, being always involved, reaching out for the student voice, meeting with people such as Dr. O'Donnell and Mr. Johnson, being on different boards such as the Student Learning Community Committee and the board to decide which clubs get funds. All of these are extremely important about experience that matters when it comes to such an important role as vice president. I believe that I have those qualifying factors to be an effective leader of the student body.
Any further discussion?
I don't know, could you talk a little bit more about how you have, I don't know, I guess, evolved as a member of those committees? What did those committees teach you?
Well, one of the most important things those committees taught me was how to be an important leader, how to step up, be more confident in what I have to say. One of the things I learned being in Leadership Council originally my sophomore year, in the beginning, I almost never talked. I was unconfident, unsure of what I was going to say. Throughout the year, becoming treasurer, being on these different boards, I learned how to step up, say what I needed to be said to get something done, talk to important people such as Mr. Johnson O'Donnell. Those guys are intimidating to talk to, but I did it anyway. Stepped up, said what needed to be said, and effectively got the job done.
So you're saying your experience mostly helped you because it taught you how to be active and how to participate completely in student government?
Yes, that's an important factor. The experience also leads to more time with the student voice, more time to understand what the students want, and that's one thing that I can really help with. I've been doing this for 2 years. I understand a lot of the issues that you want. Branched out myself and Ted, branched out to some of the students at lunch to really understand the issues you guys were facing and how to change that. So 2 big things my experience has done: help me be a more effective leader, talk with more important people, but also understand what the students are going through and how to help them.
So you have a lot of experience with student
Okay,
government.
I think that's enough. We can move on to the next one.
Okay, next question. We'll start with Mike for this one. Do you support expanding student power, and if so, which measures will you implement to expand student power?
I absolutely agree with expanding student power. That's the point of student government, is to make sure that students are heard, that they have power. One of the main things that myself and the current administration is doing is we organize monthly meetings with Dr. O'Donnell and Mr. Johnson, along with Mr. Ruscio, the head of the student directory. So I think it is so important that we meet with students like I did in cafeterias, getting to know their issues, getting to know what they want to fix, and then reaching the people that matter of how to do that. And I think that's the most effective way of including student voice, is to actually make a change.
Okay, and Oliver?
Yes, absolutely. That's the main reason I'm running for vice president, is because I want to help increase student power. And the strategy of myself and my party to get that done mostly revolves around changing the Constitution, first making sure that the Constitution creates a system whereby elections are about actual issues, not just personality contests or who we like more, popularity contests, these kinds of things. The main reason we believe we can do that is by creating a party system, like we have done, running together, so that elections are about ideas, about policies, about what you want to do, rather than the individual people and who we may know or may like better. And we also want leadership positions in student government to be about policies and issues rather than clerical tasks. I mean, Mike was the treasurer, and that's an important position, but I would rather see people in Leadership Council based around issues, people focusing on issues rather than the clerical tasks needed.
Okay, so any further debate?
I guess I'll say, I know Mike is sincere when he wants to increase student power, but how? What is your plan to increase it?
Well, like I said
more than it
before,
is right now.
Well, we just started really hitting this issue hard of meeting with the most important people, how to make a change. like I said, we're meeting with three of the most important members of the school. I mean, Mr. Johnson, the principal, Dr. O'Donnell, and Mr. Ruscio, those are three people that can make a change. So my job right now is going out and hearing the issues and reporting those issues and really trying to make a change. I don't think there's any more effective way of hearing the students and making a change than doing what we are.
But don't you feel like student government has always had at least some of an audience with the principal, and that, you know, if you had a major issue, you could always bring it up with him, but that doesn't always translate into policy, like we saw with Dr. O'Donnell making his decision to extend the school day. Do you really feel like the way you're doing now did an adequate job of representing the student voice on that particular issue?
That issue is, we actually had explained to us by Dr. O'Donnell that he was very apologetic, that he didn't come to us sooner. We had created a plan that would have much better benefited students, really made their learning a little bit better, a little bit easier than this extended time period that we didn't fully agree with. So we had an extensive talk with him, over 2 hours, him and the other two, of how they would do a better job next year and the rest of this year about coming to us with bigger issues so that we could effectively do our job. And so I believe starting now and the next year into this, if I win the position, would be doing the same thing, but doing it more effectively with better input from the students.
Okay, next question.
Okay. And we'll go to Oliver. Okay. Which changes, if any, would you propose to restructure the world language program?
So it's never been a secret that I'm quite cynical about the value of world languages, but I do think if you're going to use them effectively, what you should focus on is making sure that when people graduate, that in their careers or later in life, they use them and they have practical applications. And the main way you're going to be able to get to do that is if you increase the variety of languages, so people aren't stuck with taking a language that they may not like, or they just don't see any commercial values to knowing that language. So in terms of specific policies, what I would probably recommend is first eliminating the requirements in middle school to take world languages and vastly increasing the number of options both at the middle school level and the high school level, so that kids don't have to pick, like, I believe it's French, German, Spanish in the middle school, and then they're kind of stuck taking that in high school. They can have lots of choices at the beginning and all throughout their career.
Mike?
Well, I firmly believe that expanding the world language is extremely important. One of the main things in the world right now is learning different languages, and not everything is about the three that we have right now. I would really like to expand it to also Arabic and Chinese, so that students take a language that they are really interested in and they really feel like will help them later in life. When students are interested and engaged, they become much better students. I don't want students stuck in Spanish or French if they're not interested in those. If they're more interested in Arabic and Chinese, let's get them into those classes early on. Middle school would be I would hope to achieve that. But then also students aren't distracted by those who aren't. Building a stronger learning environment starts with getting people who aren't interested in those classes out to different opportunities and getting those who are with a tighter group of students that can really help each other in the three core, and then hopefully branching out into Arabic and Chinese.
Any further debate?
Okay, so next question is, how do you plan on spending the student government's budget? And we will start with Mike.
Well, as the treasurer last year, I have a lot of experience dealing with the budget that we have. And one of the main things we try and do, because we do have some limitations with how we can spend it, is really trying to boost student morale. Last year we did a cookie drive where we basically gave cookies to students, try and make their day a little better, know that everything can be a little bit easier once you have a cookie in your hand. And we got a lot of help from the culinary department, and we were so thankful for that. That also helped give students a lot of experience dealing with things like in the culinary department, but just making students' lives better would be how I would try and use that money.
I don't necessarily expect the student government to address an issue like obesity, but I kind of hope they wouldn't make it worse. So I don't see how providing cookies is a very good use of school funds. I think there are a lot better ideas you can think of than school cookies, especially if that's your main job of figuring out what to do with school funds. I think there are a lot of small extracurriculars where a grant of, I don't know exactly how much the student government has, but I assume a couple $100 a grant of $100 or so would make a big difference towards helping that extracurricular more effectively do it at once. So, or more incentives for doing things like student surveys and things like that, so we can encourage involvement in the student government. Rather, I don't buy the whole cookie increases morale. I think that's simplistic.
I'd like to share my thoughts on this real quick. One, a cookie would not create obesity by itself. Two, you are not allowed to give as the student government. You're not allowed to give other clubs money. That is your money. You're not just going to hand it out to other clubs. It's not what the student government does, nor are we allowed to do that. And three, don't you want a cookie in the morning? Yes? Yes, you do? Thank you.
Well, I still feel like grants for things, you could find better projects than handing out cookies, or like I said with surveys, having little incentives.
Surveys are free.
Yes, but you need to incentivize them. No one wants to do a survey.
Well, how do you incentivize them? With food.
By providing
such as
prizes.
cookies.
That may be true, but that's not how you used it at all. You just handed out free cookies. Second of all, you're handing out a lot of cookies. Was what, 2,500 cookies?
It's about 1,200.
1,200, okay, that's 100 calories a cookie. That's about 120,000 calories.
That's
Do you
spread out
think-
over the student body. We're not
Still
going to
a
make
lot of
people
calories,
obese
still.
giving them a cookie.
Okay, this is getting a little off topic from the question, so we'll move on.
Yeah. Okay, and this one will go to Oliver. Do you support the administration's plan to implement learning communities? How would you propose that learning communities be structured?
No, not at all. I think it sounds like a solution without a problem, really. I have a few specific objections, but for the sake of time, I'll just be more general. I think high school should be about exploring careers, not picking specializations or areas of major. And I think we're very lucky to have the CTC, and we should use that to the full advantage. But I think the administration has gotten into its head that it can mandate a path or an ideal career or specialization that will make it easier for students, and I don't buy that at all. I think that's ridiculous. And I think we should focus on the principle of electives being elective, and we shouldn't these aren't mandatory things, but you're still suggesting that most people should do it. So by adding on more requirements for it, you're restricting the number of explorations people will do, the number of choices to take other careers. So I think it's a bad thing. We should do everything we can to stop this plan.
Mike?
Well, I personally do not agree with the student learning communities. I've worked closely with the administration as I'm on the student learning community committee, and they're pretty stuck in that we are going to do this. So my job would be to make sure that the students who are going to go through this, the current ninth graders and everyone before that, to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. They know exactly what they're going to do. Because really the added requirements, as I learned through the meetings, and that hopefully the students will learn as soon as possible, is that there aren't a lot of added requirements. This is, while I don't personally agree with it, the administration is trying to help them, and they still get ninth grade year to maybe have a little bit of time to figure out what they're doing, and they don't have to pick a career right away, essentially. This is just the administration's plan of trying to boost a little bit of their education, so I wouldn't personally agree with it, but I'm working closely with the administration and hopefully can make kids as comfortable as possible with going forward with this.
Okay.
The requirements, my understanding of them, are not minimal. They're a couple credits, and that's a significant amount when you already have only 1 or 2 credits a year that are really available for electives. A few more credits for requirements, it can be a large burden, so I don't think it's minimal. But also, 10th grade is still way too early in my opinion, and I just don't see any benefits to this plan at all, and I honestly don't know why the administration felt there was a need to do it.
Well, I would agree that 10th grade is still too early, but the administration is going to do this. It will happen. So I would just say, instead of being negative about it, like block scheduling, there's no point in being negative, complaining about it. There's a point in seeing how it can help you, how it can benefit your education. I've come to really enjoy block scheduling. Like, I hope some of the younger students will really come to enjoy the student learning community. And even if they can't, I'm just going to do everything I can to help them stay positive about it, or at the very least know everything they can about it to be more comfortable going into next year.
when you come up against a flawed principle, sure, we can try to mitigate the impacts of this. And I think I've worked to try to address some of these smaller issues that I think are problematic about this plan, but we still need to make it very clear that as a whole, we do not support this plan. And eventually, the administration is going to review this, take a look, say, do we want to keep doing this? And when that time comes, we want to have developed a long tradition of opposing it, so that they will really rethink what they've done.
Okay, next question. Which amendments would you propose to the student government constitution, if any?
Myself, the rest of the government team, along with Oliver and all the people in Leadership Council, worked extremely hard this year to create a constitution that myself and the rest of the government team is extremely proud of. I believe that we really did a great job. So there, personally, I have nothing that I would actively want to change.
There's a lot I want to change. First of all, we want to completely rewrite the Constitution, but I will just go over some of the basics. Basically, we would elect the Leadership Council as part of a sort of congressional election by party-list vote, so we can create a ideas-based election system instead of personality or popularity voting. And then that sort of parliament or legislature, or whatever you want to call it, would in turn choose special representatives to focus on certain areas of policy. These would effectively be the leaders of the student government, but they wouldn't be about secretary or treasurer or something like that. They would have specific policy focuses like curriculum or rules and regulations or grounds and the budget, things like that, so we can actually involve ourselves more directly into the policy-making process, both at the board level and at the administrative level.
Any debate?
I would personally agree with the way we have structured Leadership Council now. The people who want to be on it basically get in. Those who originally get in but do not are not actively enough in participation, we figured out very effective ways on how to limit those members while keeping Leadership Council, who we are, strong. I think they've done a really great job this year, working hard. Every time we have a meeting, most people show up. So I think the way we have it structured now is really effective, and there's no reason to change it.
I just can't be as content as you are with the way it is right now. I understand you may think student government is on whole pretty good and pretty functional. I disagree, but I don't think you should think it's perfect or the way it's structured is perfect. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's right that positions like treasurer or secretary that have a duty to perform are the main policy-making bodies, the main policy-making people who make decisions about things like that?
You could say we're the main people, but really almost every time we make a large decision like the Constitution or really anything else, we have a Leadership Council meeting. We really take in the input of the Leadership Council. So I think we do an extremely effective job as the government of branching out to the Leadership Council, because really their job, just like ours, is to get student voice. So their job is to have more opinions, more branching out into the student body. So I think we did a very effective job this year of listening to what they had to say, changing some of the things about the Constitution based on what they said, and continuing on forward. So I wouldn't call, maybe we're the main, but they're very, very close to us. And I think we do an effective job at it.
I would disagree that you bring most policy to the Leadership Council. I think what we hear is it may be some of what you talk about, but I really doubt that, like, the things you talked about, things you're involved with, Leadership Council does not have that kind of access. And so I don't think it's fair to call them the main policy body. But besides that, I think we can just move on.
Okay. So, for Oliver, do you support the way SCASD currently weights GPA? If not, how would you propose GPA be weighted?
I disagree with the concept of weighting GPA in general. I think that there's an important incentive for having equal unweighted GPA, and that is you are encouraged to take the class that you're most likely to master. Weighted GPA tends to mess that up, and you have to keep in mind that I'm told most colleges these days calculate their own weighted GPA. So the weighted GPA, guys, doesn't really mean that much, and you're telling students that it's the most important thing when colleges are just going to calculate their own. So with that in mind, I think we should just have an unweighted GPA and then remind students that colleges will get your transcript, they will see your classes, they will know if you are challenging yourself. And remind them to challenge themselves and do all the things colleges want to see, but don't use weighted GPA to try to encourage that because it messes everything up.
Mike?
I would agree with Oliver. I believe that the way we weight GPA right now is a very weird system, and basically colleges will do what they want regardless of our weighting. So I would just early on remind students, especially younger students who can over push themselves sometimes because they don't have the experience to know when to pull back and when to push forward. And so I think I would remind them to take the classes that they are best suited for. Don't not push yourself, but don't overextend. Don't do horribly in a class because you went too far. And just remind them to also be included in extracurriculars. Those are almost as important as GPA, and sometimes those don't get mentioned as much in the college discussion, but I think they need to. And one of the things that we would be very focused on.
I don't think we need any further discussion on that, do we?
Okay, our next question is, do you support the administration's plan to start school later?
Personally, I do. This is an extremely important step that we probably should have taken years ago. Studies have shown for years that getting more sleep for people our age is extremely effective, helps them do more effectively in school, and our job is to help students do as well as they can in school. And if this is such a simple way to do that, I'm all for it.
I agree pretty much completely. I think school should start later. I don't think they pushed it back quite far enough. I think the studies have shown that there's still a good 10% of schools that start later, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect them to start even later, because the main reason we don't start school at like 10 a.m. is because we want people to take part in the workforce. But I think that although that is important, it's even more important that we take into account the psychological and just health benefits to starting school later, as well as the numerous educational benefits.
I'm going to disagree a little bit here. I believe that working after school, even if you're planning on doing things after high school, are extremely important. Some families really rely on that money, and I wouldn't want to take that work opportunity away from them. I believe we can meet halfway in the psychological benefits of education, also allowing people to do work after school, play sports after school. I think if we pushed it too far back, it would really mess up the schedule, and so I don't want to go too far. I would like to meet halfway and say, allow the people who really need that sleep to get it, but also those who need to work, play sports, do those kind of things, meet them halfway there.
I don't think 20 or 30 more minutes is really going to obliterate the market for students working. There would still be the same number of hours in the day. It would just be shifted a little bit later, and I don't think that I don't know much about when most job opportunities are scheduled, but I would assume that 30 minutes later would not be a significant drop.
Okay. So this is our last question, and it's a surprise question, so neither of the candidates have heard this before. So good luck.
Can't wait.
And we'll start with Oliver. Let's say that the student government president has literally just died. What do you do first?
I think we should figure out why they died. I think that's a major concern. If they had political rivals, then perhaps we should take precautions to stay alive ourselves as well. But I don't think you need to do anything immediately. Student government, it's an important position, but it's not like there's people who rely on you directly. I think you just slowly take the job over, make it clear that, I guess, you're the leader now, and start to build a new agenda, continue where they left off.
I'm not going to say I would do it, but be happy to get away with it. I'm just kidding. I think that the president is an extremely important position, but I believe that I would be fully capable of jumping into either of the candidates who won the position's footsteps. I would follow, Justin and I have very similar footing, so if he were to be elected, I would be able to basically jump in on our combined agenda. but I would be extremely comfortable in that role, especially considering I've had the experience with this. I would be able to basically jump in, continue what I'm doing, just have a little bit more of a role in it.
Okay. You want anything else to talk about there? Okay. Now it's time for closing statements. I guess Mike can go first.
All right, so I just want to say again, my name is Michael Hopp. I'm running for vice president, as you guys know. I believe that I have the experience, the dedication, the determination, and the plans to effectively run vice president. I just believe that everything that I've done the past 2 years has led me to really be an effective leader in the student government and really hear student voice, take that into account, and make changes based on what you guys need. We've been doing it for 2 years now, and I think that I would do a great job in my 3rd year. Thank you.
Oliver.
What I hope you saw, if you were bored enough, I guess, to watch this whole thing, is that a contrast between myself and my allies and Mike and his allies. And I think you'll see that Mike is sort of content with the way student government operates right now. And if you're a member of student government, that's fine. That's not necessarily a bad position. But if you're a member of the student body, then you have to ask yourself, do I notice the student government doing anything for me right now? Is the way student government operates right now really in my best interests? And is it really not worth taking a chance on a change that hopefully create a more inclusive, democratic, and effective student government so that we can have a real student voice in school policy?
Okay. And that closes the debate. Everybody at home who is watching, thank you very much. Be sure to get out and vote. And thank you to WSCH for letting us conduct the debate in their space. Yeah. Well done.
Good work, everyone.